Go to overcomecompulsivehoarding.co.uk/online therapy to get 20% off your first month of cognitive behavioural therapy, with weekly sessions online with a therapist, in addition to worksheets, a journal, meditation and yoga videos, and unlimited messaging. There's strong evidence that CBT can help people who hoard, and accessing therapy online can be affordable and accessible. Find out more and get your discount at overcomecompulsivehoarding.co.uk/online therapy.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, how to get 30, how to get 20, 20, 20, how to get 20, 20, how to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
A lot can happen in the next 3 years. Like a chatbot may be your new best friend. But what won't change? Needing health insurance. United Healthcare Tri-Term Medical Plans are available for these changing times. Underwritten by Golden Rule Insurance Company, they offer budget-friendly, flexible coverage for people who are in between jobs or missed open enrollment. The plans last nearly 3 years in some states, with access to a nationwide network of doctors and hospitals. So for whatever tomorrow brings, United Healthcare Tri-Term Medical Plans may be for you. Learn more at uh1.com.
Hey there, it's Michelle Norris. I'm host of a podcast called Your Mama's Kitchen. When I travel, I'm usually looking for a way to find a taste of home when I'm not at home. And one of the things I love to do when I am at home is entertain. And Airbnb allows me to do that. When I was in California recently, I rented a house that had a great kitchen. And when we were sitting around the table, we were all thinking, we're in someone else's house. Someone could be in all of our homes as well. If you have a home, but you're not always at home, you have an Airbnb. Your home might be worth more than you think. Find out how much at airbnb.com/host.
So I haven't missed an episode of this podcast since October 2021, including publishing on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve last year. Every week, brand new content. And I think I deserve a couple of weeks off, but fear not. For 2 weeks, I am republishing some previous episodes that I know you've valued before. I am a big believer in re-listening to things you've already heard, because you can pick up all kinds of new things that you missed the first time round. Also, I know that some podcasts stop releasing content altogether over the break, but not everybody celebrates Christmas and New Year. Not everybody is part of a culture that values those traditions. And also not everybody enjoys this time of year, including me. There's a secret. So for you, enjoy. Do you want to be a de-hoarding darling? You can be now at overcomecompulsivehoarding.co.uk/darling. If you love the podcast and want a bit extra, you can finally sign up to be a de-hoarding darling. Members will get an exclusive monthly post with an additional top tip, some podcast and music recommendations, and a personal update from me about how things are going. Find out the full details at overcomecompulsivehoarding.co.uk/darling. Welcome to the Overcome Compulsive Hoarding with That Hoarder podcast. I am drowning in stuff and trying to find a way out. Listen as I explore the issues and delve deep as somebody profoundly affected by hoarding disorder. Find out more, including links to subscribe to the podcast, at overcomecompulsivehoarding.co.uk, and follow me on Twitter at That Hoarder, and on Facebook at facebook.com/That Hoarder. So it's nearly Christmas, and that's pretty hard to avoid in the Western world at least. So the big issue with Christmas for hoarders, or our big issue for Christmas for hoarders, is gifts. both giving and receiving gifts can be fraught. There are so many risks. There will probably be stuff coming into your house which you may or may not even want. And also, you're probably expected to give gifts to others. And that can be a lovely thing or it can be a stressful thing. So I'm going to talk today about giving gifts and receiving gifts, advice specifically for hoarders. So I'm going to start with giving gifts. The first key element is do not get into debt to give people Christmas presents. Buying somebody a nice candle or a food hamper is nice, but if you're going to be paying it off for the next 3 years, then that's a problem. That's a big problem. And nobody should expect you to do that for them. If you need to get tiny gifts for people, then if they are good people, they will appreciate that just as much as they would if you got them a designer vase or something really expensive. So, sure, spend on gifts, but spend within your means. My second tip for hoarders for giving gifts is don't assume that everybody else wants as much stuff around them as you might want in your life. Some people are complete minimalists, some people are hoarders, but there's everywhere on the spectrum between those two things as well. So don't buy people 12 ornaments for the fireplace. Don't buy them 10 books. Don't buy them 2 clocks. Think about what people who aren't hoarders tend to have around them at home and try and be a bit thoughtful about the fact that they may not want a load of stuff. One carefully thought out gift can be inexpensive if it needs to be, but if it's carefully thought out, people appreciate it. Because what they get from that is that you know them and you love who they are because you've got them something that perfectly defines them. My third tip for giving gifts is consider giving experiences rather than physical items. And this can be things you can buy, like you could buy a pair of cinema tickets for somebody, or you could splash out a bit more and get somebody a hot air balloon ride or a panic room day, which sounds to me like my worst nightmare, but some people really enjoy those. But it also doesn't have to be something that costs money. You can write them a card and say, redeem this card for a trip to the park with me. Let's go for a walk. And that can be just as thoughtful and lovely as getting a box of chocolates. My fourth tip seems obvious, but it's not necessarily, and that's to ask people what they want. Maybe somebody really needs some tea towels, or they really need something really practical that you would never have thought to get them, but actually they would really benefit from. So ask. The worst that will happen is they'll say, oh, just surprise me, and you'll be exactly where you were when you started, but that's okay. Best, you'll get them something that you know they will appreciate and cherish because they've told you that that's exactly what they want or need. My fifth tip, be very careful if you plan to buy gifts and keep them at your home before you give them to the person. Firstly, you don't have the space. I can say that fairly authoritatively, I think. You don't have the space to store big bags of gifts for other people. You don't have the space for your own stuff, never mind other people's stuff. Secondly, you might decide to keep those things. If you have hoarding tendencies, this is a risk. If you have a gorgeous, jewellery box that you've bought for your sister, but it's so pretty and it's sitting there in your front room, looking at you, being all pretty, you may think, oh, I'll buy her another one or I'll buy her something else and I'll keep this one. That's the last thing you want to do. Thirdly, you might lose those things before you have a chance to pass them on. And then you'll either have to rebuy them, which leaves you with the originals as clutter. You don't need any more clutter. Or if you don't or can't rebuy those things, then you miss out on giving them something. What I did last year, because of COVID regulations, was I got gifts for my various family members sent directly to them rather than coming to me, because I knew I wouldn't be seeing them over Christmas. So everything I ordered online, and I got it sent to them instead of to me. And it was a revelation. I'm doing the same this year. Well, I've done it already this year. Everybody's gift doesn't come to my house at all, which saves on postage. It saves me trying to organize it all and get to the post office. And it saves those 3 risks that I've just outlined. I don't have the space to keep that stuff. I might decide to keep some of it, and I might lose it. So if you can get things sent directly to the recipient, that's ideal. If you can't, come up with a serious plan about exactly where you're going to keep this stuff, exactly how you're not going to lose it, and exactly how you're going to ignore any calls from the items to keep them. And my final guideline for giving gifts as a hoarder is related to that last one, actually. Don't buy something that you really secretly want yourself. One risk is that you'll keep it. Another is that rather than risking this happening, you'll just say, sod it, and buy 2. Buy 1 for them and 1 for you. If you're hitting add to cart on an item you really want and you have hoarding tendencies, it's massively dangerous to buy it, whether for somebody else or not. And as a hoarder, you're also going to receive gifts at Christmas. If you don't have family or friends, then maybe not. And I'm very sorry about that, because that must be incredibly difficult at this time of year when all the focus is on getting together with people and having a good time. If you're lonely or isolated, that's painful. And I'm sorry you're in that situation. If you are lucky enough to have family and friends, and if those family and friends are generous gift givers, then you're going to be in a situation in a few weeks' time where you have more stuff in your house. So some strategies for getting gifts at Christmas for hoarders. First of all, think about a few inexpensive items that you definitely really want or need. Make sure this isn't a fleeting desire, like something you saw a Facebook ad for yesterday that you'd never even heard of before that, and suddenly you're desperate to get one. But stuff that you have been thinking for a while, I could really benefit from a new, desk organizer, or I could really benefit from some nice chocolate. I really enjoy that. Something like that. And when you've thought of those things, if somebody asks you what you would like as a gift, you can suggest them. And like with giving gifts, my second strategy for receiving gifts is to consider requesting experiences rather than things. These days you can buy trips where you can drive around a racetrack in a racing car. You might want to go to a live music concert. You might want an annual pass to a local museum or a massage voucher. Ask for those things instead of stuff. And if somebody is not very well off and may struggle buying presents, then again, like I suggested with giving experiences rather than physical items, suggest some free experiences. Say to somebody, I'd love to go on a drive out to the countryside with you and just catch up. Why don't we make a picnic and go somewhere nice when the weather warms up? That kind of thing. My third tip about receiving gifts is ask for donations in your name to your favourite charity. That way, people feel good that first of all, they're doing what you've asked them to do. Secondly, it does feel good to make a charity donation. And thirdly, you can feel good that rather than having another useless basket of bath goodies in the queue in your bathroom. Instead of that, then a children's cancer charity or a homelessness charity or a refugee charity has got some money that it didn't have before that will help them in the running of their operation. Tip number 4, ask for food, and ask for food that you will definitely eat. Don't ask for things, random stuff. Be specific. Say, I love chocolate, or get me some posh cheese, or I would love some local food. Something like that you will definitely use, that you will enjoy, and that will help if you have somebody who likes to give you something physical. Another thing to request is time. Time spent with those you love in a restaurant, on a night out. Say to somebody, I don't want anything from you other than let's book a Friday night and have a great time. And finally, when you are given gifts, resist the urge to keep every scrap of wrapping paper for reuse. There is always more wrapping paper. You've probably already got a stash. And if somehow you get to next Christmas and you haven't got a stash, it's so cheap, it's so easily available, throw away the wrapping paper. Now, there is also a big dilemma for a lot of hoarders. For a lot of people actually have this dilemma, but hoarders in particular have it more acutely than most. And that is what to do with unwanted gifts. And that, to be honest, is a topic of its own. I don't want to smush it in with giving and receiving gifts in this episode because it might get lost with too many topics. But either next week or the week after, I am planning to talk about what to do with unwanted gifts because I know it's a huge problem.
Cool fact, a crocodile can't stick out its tongue. Also, you can get health insurance for a month or just under a year in some states. United Healthcare short-term insurance plans, underwritten by Golden Rule Insurance Company, offer flexible, budget-friendly coverage for you. Learn more at uh1.com.
Hiring for your small business? If you're not looking for professionals on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. That's like looking for your car keys in a fish tank. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't even visit other leading job sites. So start looking in the right place. With LinkedIn, you can hire professionals like a professional. Post your free job on linkedin.com/spoken today.
Welcome to the Overcome Compulsive Hoarding with That Hoarder podcast. I am drowning in stuff and trying to find a way out. Listen as I explore the issues and delve deep as somebody profoundly affected by hoarding disorder. Find out more, including links to subscribe to the podcast, at overcomecompulsivehoarding.co.uk, and follow me on Twitter at That Hoarder and on Facebook at facebook.com/That Hoarder. So today I'm going to talk about what to do with unwanted gifts. If you haven't listened to last week's episode, I would go there first. That is about a general guide to how to deal with buying and receiving gifts, particularly at Christmas, but any time really. But I wanted to look at what to do with unwanted gifts separately because, to be honest, it's a massive topic. And this is not only an issue for hoarders, actually. I think a lot of people have dilemmas about unwanted gifts. I was in a Zoom meeting, obviously, yesterday, and somebody was saying how she'd got out a plant pot she hated because a family member who'd given it to her was visiting. So it's definitely not just hoarders who have trouble throwing stuff away or getting rid of stuff that they don't want if somebody gave it to them. So the first way I would look at dealing with unwanted gifts is trying to avoid them in the first place. If somebody asks you in advance of Christmas or your birthday for ideas of presents, give them ideas. This helps to avoid the problem of ending up with a vase you hate, and means you'll end up hopefully with something you actually want. The next option for unwanted gifts is to donate them. There are numerous benefits of this, but a big one is that it means that somebody can actually appreciate them. Somebody who does love the vase, or somebody who that jumper fits, or somebody who's interested in the book that you don't want to read. They can actually appreciate it if you let them. Let somebody love the perfume you hate, or the ornament that makes you cringe. And bear in mind that brand new stuff that's still in its packet or still got labels on tends to sell especially well. So consider it like a donation to your favourite charity. If you give them something they can sell for £10, then consider that a £10 donation from you. Another option is to re-gift them. Perhaps you know the perfect person for the item that you don't love. And if that's the case, spread the joy and let that person love the thing that you don't love. Somebody who would love to read the book that you've already read or that doesn't interest you. It serves nobody if it sits on your bookshelf or in a pile in your room, when it can be enjoyed and appreciated by somebody else. If it's stuff like bath bombs and body lotion, nice soap, that kind of thing, consider donating those directly to a women's refuge or a charity that supports refugees. In both of those circumstances, people often arrive with literally nothing but the clothes on their back. So some really luxurious toiletries or some basic toiletries could make a real difference to their sense of dignity, to their well-being, and it's something that the charity then doesn't have to buy for those people, and so it saves them money and it gets use out of the moisturizer that you're allergic to, or, the bath bomb that smells of cinnamon and you hate cinnamon. One thing to bear in mind though, do be respectful. Don't give away half-used bottles of shampoo and half a pack of razors. I feel it's disrespectful to say I've half-used this. That's as much as you deserve. It's not okay. People who need these donations need dignity just as much as people who don't need donations. And always keep that in mind. Don't give people your absolute crap. They don't want that any more than you do. But the good stuff, the new stuff, the wrapped stuff, the sealed stuff, send it on its way to somebody who needs it. You'll feel better, they'll feel better, and the gift will be put into use rather than just gather dust in your home. Now, a lot of people feel that even if they're going to get rid of a gift, they should keep it for a while to be respectful. I always had this, like somebody would give me, a CD of a band I didn't like. And I would think, I'm going to give that to the charity shop, but I better keep it for a while first, out of respect for the gift giver. And then I one day asked myself why. It does feel more respectful somehow to keep it for a bit, but why does it? Why keep something for a token 6 months? What difference does it actually make? If you're going to give something away, just give it away now. My best friend once said to me, if I ever give you something and you don't like it, please do feel free to get rid of it. And I immediately said the same thing back to her. I would hate the idea of her keeping hold of something she hated just because I'd bought it for her. I don't want her surroundings to be anything other than exactly what she wants. Why would I want to make her miserable? Why would I want to burden her? She wants the same for me. You don't give people things to make them miserable or stressed. And equally, they don't give you things to make you miserable or stressed either. People don't give you gifts to burden you. And if keeping hold of something will burden you, then that's the opposite of the point of a gift. It's not disrespectful to get something and to quietly think somebody else could get better use out of this than me and pass it on to that person. There's nothing wrong with that. And I know it feels awkward, and maybe you don't want to declare to the person who gave it you, oh my God, why did you think I would like this? It's horrific. You don't want to do that. You don't even probably want to tell them that you got rid of it. And if you re-gift it, make sure you don't re-gift it back to them. That's awkward. But as long as you're kind of quiet about it and just quietly move it on to somewhere where it will be used and appreciated and enjoyed, then there is really nothing wrong with that. Think of that woman who's escaped her violent partner and is having her first peaceful shower in 3 years, using the shower gel that just doesn't suit your skin. That's a far better use of the gift than putting it on your bathroom shelf for 2 years until it's been there so long you barely even see it. That's the waste. I know this is tricky territory. I do. But start to challenge the thoughts that you have about whether or not you can get rid of something because somebody gave it you. Because once you start to question those automatic thoughts that say, no, I've got to keep it out of respect, once you start to say, but why? And then answer that and then say, but why? And then answer that and then say, but why? You start to see that it's pretty flimsy reasoning, and there's often more in favour of donating, regifting, or even, let's face it, if it's absolute rubbish, just throwing it away. It doesn't mean you love the gift giver any less. It doesn't mean they love you any less. It just means that that thing wasn't for you, and your friend or your family member doesn't want to burden you with even more crap than you've already got. Do you want to be a de-hoarding darling? You can be now at overcomecompulsivehoarding.co.uk/darling. If you love the podcast and want a bit extra, you can finally sign up to be a de-hoarding darling. Members will get an exclusive monthly post with an additional top tip, some podcast and music recommendations, and a personal update from me about how things are going. Find out the full details at overcomecompulsivehoarding.co.uk/darling. So my top tip this week is for people who haven't embarked so much on the de-hoarding journey and they're wondering whether to or whether not to, but it's also good for people who have started de-hoarding and are questioning themselves. Perhaps they're finding it's a really huge and overwhelming task and they don't know if it's the right thing to do. And it's a bit of a cliched suggestion, but some cliches are cliches for good reasons, and that's because they work. So write a pros and cons list for whether or not you want to de-hoard. Be really honest on both sides of the list. So in the pros of de-hoarding, talk about the things you would hope to get out of it. You might say, I will be able to invite my friends round for a dinner party. Or you might say, I won't panic when somebody knocks on the door. That kind of thing. But also be honest on the cons list. You might worry that you'll get rid of something and regret it. You might miss a feeling of safety from having your stuff around you. Really get it all out. Spend a few days on and off on it if that helps. And try and lay it all down in front of you. And as long as you're honest on both sides of the list, you can then look at it and make a decision about whether you want to move forward or not. I imagine the pros will be stronger than the cons, but that may not be the case. But you need to be really motivated to attack this problem. So this is a good basis for getting there. So my top tip this week is when you are sorting through things and deciding what to get rid of and what to keep and what to donate and all of that, don't ask yourself whether you can use the object in your hand. Ask yourself instead whether you really will use the object in your hand. Hoarders are incredibly skilled at looking at something that most people would throw away and seeing lots of potential in it. We look at something and think, oh, I could turn that into this, or that could serve as this. That could be really useful there. And that may all be true, but will we turn it into that? Will we use it as this? Will we do the things with it? Chances are no, we won't, because there are so many things with potential and we just don't get round to it. So instead of saying, oh, I better keep this because it could be useful for this, instead think, will I really use this? Realistically, honestly, will I definitely use this? Okay, thank you for listening, and I will speak to you next week. Thank you for listening to the Overcome Compulsive Hoarding podcast. You can find more online at overcomecompulsivehoarding.co.uk. You can find me on Twitter at @thathoarder and on Facebook at Overcome Compulsive Hoarding with That Hoarder. To find out more about how you can support this podcast and the overall project, go to overcomecompulsivehoarding.co.uk/support and do subscribe to this podcast so you make sure you don't miss any future episodes.